you only have rhymes, I shouldn't be serving the time. Welcome back to Wine and Chill. I'm Stephanie, your favorite recovering lawyer, and today we're going to talk about the Young Thug and Gunna case. And YSL. No, not that YSL. It's been a while since I sat down and recorded a legal case. As you all know, I used to work in entertainment, so not only is this a somewhat entertainment law case, this is a criminal case, this is a case that has a lot of nuance. So I figured we would talk about it. Our agenda for today is going to be a brief history and definition of RICO. And no, not RICO, your play cousin. We're going to go through the indictment, the growing usage of rap lyrics in court, and lastly, we're going to discuss the broadening of RICO. Was RICO ever designed to actually target alleged street gangs? What is RICO? RICO is defined as Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act. What is racketeer? Racketeering is a type of criminal activity in which money is extorted from a victim by threat or force. It's giving Sally Mae. Originally designed in the 70s to target the mob and some cartels, the RICO Act was introduced in 1970 as a part of the Organized Crime Control Act of 1970. Under RICO, it is a crime for an individual to belong to an enterprise that is involved in a pattern of racketeering, even if the racketeering is committed by other members. Essentially, RICO allows you to get in trouble for what somebody else did. Specifically, Section 1962 of RICO prohibits any person from A, using income received from a pattern of racketeering activity or from the collection of an unlawful debt to acquire an interest in an enterprise affecting interstate commerce, B, acquiring or maintaining through a pattern of racketeering activity or through collection of an unlawful debt. A brief history on the mob in the United States. The threat of the mob was not just that the mob in the United States was running amok, stealing money, causing wars, etc. The threat of the mob really was that the mob had infiltrated a lot of labor unions. So essentially the mob would buy the votes of the working poor. So Chicago is a great example of this. Chicago for many years was ran by the mob. The mob would put people in political positions of power, and those people would get to those positions because they would infiltrate the labor unions, coerce and threaten the working poor, and the working poor would then vote for these people. To counteract this and to get rid of the mob, or at least try to get rid of the mob, the RICO Act was drafted. And essentially, you can also get in trouble for conspiring to do any of these things. It was originally interstate, which is between two or more states. Once you get labeled as an enterprise and you are working together, the government, either state or federal, has a 10-year window to collect all of the alleged criminal acts together and then charge not only the individual, but then anyone that you are in proximity with that they believe is also in the enterprise with violation of RICO. Also, injunctive relief allows for monetary damages. It allows for the state to require the then convicted felon to pay back money. Hit with the RICO, they repo your vehicle. Everything was all good just a week ago. This is a state RICO case. This is Fulton County going after YSL Young Thug Gunna and 28 total defendants. Under the RICO statute of Georgia, a defendant can receive 5 to 20 years in prison. With RICO, not only are you getting charged with the underlying crime that you committed, you're also getting charged with the conspiracy, so 5 to 20 years on top of that, along with fines or both. And they're allowed to deny a defendant up to 3 times the amount of money that the defendant allegedly procured during the 10-year period for the specific crime. Yeah, RICO is about cash. The big thing that you're going to notice in the indictment, which is a whopping 88 pages, is this idea of enterprise. To qualify under any RICO statute, the government has to show that this group of people is an organized enterprise. Emphasis on organized. So there are 28 defendants, which includes various members of YSL Young Slime Life. I think they could have worked on the branding, I'm just saying. Into the indictment. The enterprise. YSL is an enterprise consisting of a group of individuals associated in fact, this is according to the state, in fact, although not a legal entity. Now, they're saying that because the mob used to spin up a lot of corporations. Yes, the mob was full of LLCs. YSL constitutes an ongoing organization whose members function as a continuing unit for the common purpose of achieving the objectives of the enterprise. History. YSL is a criminal street gang that started in late 2012 in the Cleveland Avenue area of Atlanta, Georgia. YSL claims affiliation with the National Blood Gang. YSL's founders were Jeffrey Williams, aka Young Thug, aka Slime, Walter Murphy, aka DK, and Trontavia Stevens, aka Tick, aka Slug. Jeffrey Williams, an Atlanta-based hip-hop artist, made YSL a well-known name by referring to it in his songs and on social media. Now, we're going to get to the usage of rap lyrics and the criminalizations of rap crews. You're going to see two very different sides of the story. One of which is, these are my friends, I grew up with them, this is my rap crew, this is my entourage. And yes, I gave us a cute name, YSL, we liked it. The other side of the story, according to the state, this is a gang. They are all running around doing hood rat things with their friends, and we're tired of it. Under the expansion of RICO, if you are a clinger-on, a groupie, or whatever, somebody who just happens to be in the cut at the wrong place at the wrong time, your ass is also getting charged with RICO. The only way for a conspiracy to commit RICO charge can stick is you have to show that there is a criminal enterprise. All this is going to focus on, this entire indictment, as well as crimes, will focus on identifiers. Are they all wearing black-owned earrings? Are they all wearing paisley tops? Are they all wearing green at all times? It's a gang. It's an enterprise. Or are they all wearing different colors? YSL associates use a variety of identifiers, including colors, clothing, tattoos, and hand signs, as well as verbal written identifiers. YSL associates often display their colors by wearing a green, oh, well, what I said previously aged bad. I forgot it was green. This, I would say, is green pattern. It's not just basic regular degular green, okay? I thought it was just red. Okay. Or red bandana on their person, a practice known as flagging. YSL associates often wear clothing with the letters YSL, or I wonder if they own a lot of YSL brand. Interesting. The most predominant YSL colors are red for Bloods and green for slime. Remember with RICO, you don't have to personally do the crime to do the time. It's essentially collective punishment, which we're going to see in the over 55 charges, we're going to go through some of them, and the 182 allegations in the scope of conduct. In the indictment, you'll see the first count is conspiracy to violate the Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act of OCGA of Georgia. And then on the left hand, I'm just going to scroll through all of it, you'll see the 28 defendants' names and then which specific counts they're being charged with. So the second charge is murder, third armed robbery, 4 aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, etc. Possession of a firearm, etc. Crime has allegedly occurred. Now, not everyone is doing crime. Belief Adams, aka Bobby Hunt, he's being charged with count 1, RICO, count 40, count 42, count 41. Martinez Arnold, aka Duke, is only getting charged with RICO. Gunna is only getting charged with RICO. Slime Life Shoddy, only getting charged with RICO. And then Young Thug getting charged with RICO and count 56, which is participation in criminal street gang activity. The actual crimes, allegedly, all of the other people are doing. But remember, the way RICO is set up, disparate crimes get looped together as long as you prove that what? You are an enterprise, organization. All of this that we're about to read is in the furtherance of the conspiracy. Prove RICO, here is the scope of conduct. 180, whatever I said earlier. Back to 2013, Trontavia Stevens, an associate of YSL, did commit the felony offense of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon with a firearm, an act racketeering, an overt act in the furtherance of the conspiracy. We won't go through all of them. 2013, here goes the person in question, Mr. Young Thug. Defendant Jeffrey Williams, an associate of YSL, did commit the felony offense of theft by receiving stolen property. When he possessed property, a firearm, the property of Ann Phillips, Williams knew or should have known was stolen, which is an act of racketeering. Now, spoiler alert, there is a lot of this felony offense of theft by receiving stolen property. This is why gifts are not my love language. How the hell are you supposed to know that someone is giving you stolen property? Which the prosecutor will have to show. Child, This is why I don't accept things from people. This is why. Except for, speaking of things I do accept from people, I have enabled now, YouTube is allowing, if you like this video, do subscribe. But also, there's a little tip button. Any tips you go will go to my personal favorite racketeer, the student loan system. Lots of references of social media are used in this indictment. 2014, defendant Jeffrey Williams, Young Thug, an associate of YSL, appeared in this video released on social media titled Ill. Titled? How did social media used to look in 2014? I don't remember. Titled. Red just like Elmo, but I never effing giggle. YSL won't fold. Pick his ass up from the balcony. YSL wipe a Negro nose. I'm a F for the cash. Then she getting robbed by Tick. In a Bentley on Wesley getting trained by Sniper. All I ever wanted was the money. Put your hands in the air if you dare. Any mother effort. I'm still trying to get this video monetized, so shh. Stop sitting there laughing as to why I'm reading it in such a square, edited manner. Less editing for me and more monetization money for FedLoan. Any mother effort to step over here, F and N, put them in a wheelchair. I wish they had written it in a way that, you know, the rhyming would have been easier, but that's fine. I'm a little bit too square for this as usual. Everything that we're going to go through at the end of every single allegation, it is going to say in furtherance of the conspiracy. Now, I have this picture in here because I don't understand why the government takes so much tax money, but the pictures are in black and white. I have no idea what that is. I cannot see it. It is allegedly Walter Murphy did pose for a photo released on social media with letters YSL tattooed on his forehead. His forehead. Child. Oh, it's the hairline. Okay. I see it now. You are looking good. We deserve to live life in color, even if we are allegedly doing crime. Another black and white photo. Young Thug did pose for a photo released on social media wearing red clothing and flashing a YSL gang hand sign, an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Because remember, they have to show all these disparate people are working together as an organization, or they are all an entourage of a one Mr. Young Thug. This one is giving a little bit of both because there are some allegations and factual tie-ins to crime. Not to be left out with his one charge, here comes Gunna, allegedly. Defendant Sergio Kitchens, that's Gunna's government name, and Jeffrey Williams, associates of YSL, did commit the felony offense of theft by receiving stolen property. I bet y'all start asking for receipts on them Christmas gifts. Defendant Sergio Kitchens and Jeffrey Williams, Gunna and Young Thug, associates of YSL, possession of methamphetamine with intent to distribute. Here we go with the drug charges. The original intention of the mob was organized crime. Randomly popping people is wrong and is criminal. That's not organized crime. Distribution, intent to distribute something, is showing organization. Where did you get the product from? Did you cook said product? Did you distribute said product? How many street personnel do you have? Etc, etc, etc. It doesn't give much more information on the intent to distribute. How much methamphetamine did they have? How much hydrocodone? Because that was the next count with intent to distribute. Marijuana with the intent to distribute. How much? Because the counter argument to this, previewing ahead to like what will likely happen in court, I would be unsurprised if the defense then said, well, it's a tour bus. They're doing personal drugs, which is illegal in this country because the person that served the largest sentence for allegedly having personal drugs that then was charged with intent to distribute is Buju Banton, who served almost a decade in U.S. prison and was released last year. His case was very interesting, very one-sided, I wasn't going to share my weed with anybody. What am I getting an intent to distribute charge? Post-jail Buju Banton, highly problematic. Pre-jail Buju Banton, also problematic. But you know, yardies aren't ready to have that conversation. So, last one on Gunna and Young Thug were the subject of a traffic stop for speeding. Involved in the stop were two vehicles, one being driven by Young Thug and the other vehicle closely following Young Thug, containing 4 individuals who were armed with numerous weapons, including high-capacity magazines to including AK-47 with a 30-round magazine. Nobody should have an AK-47. Humans don't need that. It's unnecessary. I said what I said. All right, so we are going to go through a little bit more of it and specifically afterwards talk about the usage of rap lyrics. So, another square take from me, defendant Young Thug, an associate of YSL, did appear in a video release on social media titled Bad Boy with lyrics stating, "You better watch the way you breathe around me, for that breath be your last, boy. Smith & Wesson 45 put a hole in his heart," continuing on. I'll spare y'all and let y'all read it. I had on Margellas when I shot at the cunt. Act like you want war and they gonna smoke you like a blunt. That rhyme really spoke to me, so I wanted to read that one. Listen, he said it here in 2019, but don't forget Azalea Banks did it first. Just keeping in line, defendant Damone Blalock, an associate of YSL, did pose for a photo released on social media flashing YSL gang hand sign with the caption, "Slime over sluts," with a green heart emoji and green snake emoji, an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. You know what? I do love a good throwback misogyny. Men can be sluts too. Call a man a slut and watch the confusion just like move through his face into anger. Actually, do one better and tag a few male sluts in the comments. And then last and certainly not least, we're finally in 2022, and I'm just going to read to you what they allegedly did. Defendants Demakion Garlington and Quantavious Greer, associates of YSL, when, while speaking over a cell phone to an incarcerated Fulton County inmate, discussed protecting an incarcerated YSL associate from rival gang members, an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Okay, moving forward. Those same two defendants allegedly, while speaking over the cell phone to an incarcerated Fulton County inmate, discussed killing another Fulton County jail inmate who had recently attacked a YSL associate. Over the jail phone? Child. Allegedly, yeah, it's there. So rap lyrics have been brought in and are recently being brought into court cases to show that defendants are committing crimes. There's a long history of using Black culture and Black art against Black people. And I just want you to remember, as we go through all of this, two things can very much be true at once. The original case that was brought up, Lawrence Montague allegedly murdered someone in 2017 in Baltimore, Maryland. While he was incarcerated in jail, he rapped a song over the phone, again, this phone, to his friend, which was then uploaded to Instagram. That song was then used as a confession that he committed the crime. That then went up to the Court of Appeals. The Court of Appeals is always more than one judge, generally 3 to 10, depending. The Court of Appeals in Maryland has 7 members that sit on the Court of Appeals. So 7 judges. 7 judges decided whether or not in appellate court it should have been thrown out the use of the rap lyrics. Now, to be noted, in the law, there is a concept of propensity. You can't use people's past actions to say, hey, Stephanie's always drinking wine, so I know for a fact on Saturday Stephanie was drinking wine. I don't drink wine every day. I rarely ever finish the glass. However, there's propensity evidence. There's also character evidence where people are essentially trying to prove that, you know what? You ain't shit. You're a bad person. You know how I know you're a bad person? Because you're rapping these raunchy lyrics, saying these wild things, and only a bad person who commits crime could do that, because generally speaking, anything Black people do is criminalized. Okay. In this case with Mr. Montague, he lost his case on appeal recently, with Judge Joseph Getty commenting in his opinion, while rap lyric evidence often has prejudicial effect as improper propensity evidence, propensity as in, okay, yeah, you over here rapping about murder? You probably also killed somebody. Evidence of a defendant's bad character. So they're marrying propensity and character evidence, which are usually, they're similar things. They're like cousins. They're cousins in the law. Those concerns are diminished when the lyrics are so akin to the alleged crime that they serve as direct proof of the defendant's involvement. So he's saying these rap lyrics are an exact match. Let me read them to you. I'll be playing the block, bitch. And if you ever play with me, I'll give you a dream. A couple shots, snitch. It's like hockey pucks, the way I dish out this. It's a .40. I wonder if it said .40 or .40. Let's do .40. It's a .40 when that bitch going hit up shit. That's the entire rap. The dissenting judge, so the judge that was like, yeah, that seems mad vague to me, wrote in their opinion, the ruling essentially permits rap lyrics containing generic references to violence to be admitted into evidence despite the danger of unfair prejudice substantially outweighing any minimal probative value of the evidence. That was not giving I stood outside your house on the corner of Lexington and Conway at 3:05 p.m. and shot you. That just seemed, I'm a little bit angsty right now because I'm sitting in a jail cell and maybe I want to pop somebody, but I don't necessarily mean that I pop somebody. On the opposite end of that spectrum, in 2014, the Supreme Court of New Jersey ruled that rap lyrics could not be used as evidence of motive and intent except when such material has a direct connection to the specifics of the offense for which it is offered in evidence, and the evidence probative value is not outweighed by its apparent prejudice. Probative means having the quality or function of to prove that something occurred. Specifically in that case, it was interesting because 13 pages of the defendant's rap lyrics lyrics were used, but there was little to no evidence against the defendant committed the crime, which is why the judge said, what are y'all reading 13 pages of rap lyrics to me for? This is a waste of time, and they didn't do anything. And if they did something, you need to bring some evidence. YSL case is a bit different because there seems to be hints of actual evidence that show, like, yeah, y'all were on the phone chatting about murder. Okay, that's actual evidence, recordings. There seems to be eyewitness testimony. There seems to be seizures of narcotics, etc. There seems to be more than just rap lyrics. Most famously, Jay-Z, he actually stabbed somebody. But we're not going to get into his past. That's none of our business right now. Jay-Z is spearheading with other famous members of the hip-hop community, including Miss Kelly Rowland, the rap music on trial bill in New York State. Senate Bill S-7527 is an act to amend the criminal procedure law relation to rules of evidence concerning the admissibility of evidence of a defendant's creative expression. Most importantly, in this memo, this reform is urgently needed. In courtrooms in New York and across the country, prosecutors are increasingly introducing rap lyrics as evidence in criminal proceedings. Rather than acknowledging rap music as a form of artistic expression, police and prosecutors argue that the lyrics should be interpreted literally, in the words of one prosecutor, as autobiographical journals. Even though the genre is rooted in a long tradition of storytelling that privileges figurative language, is steeped in hyperbole, and employs all the same poetic devices we find in more traditional works of poetry. Half your rappers are not doing the fun things they say that they're doing. They just rap it because it sounds cool and it's provocative and it gets the people going. This tactic effectively denies rap music the status of art, and in the process gives prosecutors a dangerous advantage in the courtroom. By presenting rap lyrics as rhymed confessions of illegal behavior, they are often able to obtain more convictions even when other evidence is lacking. And that's the key. When other evidence is lacking. If you only have rhymes, I shouldn't be serving the time. As the courts have broadened the scope of character evidence and propensity, when they really shouldn't be doing either of these things, so has RICO been broadened. So, remember, RICO, when we first discussed the history of RICO, was used for the mob. The mob and the mafia were organized crime syndicates that were rampant in the United States in major cities such as Chicago, Philadelphia, New York. I was like, why am I forgetting Gotham? I live here. I should remember. And often we're harming people, controlling people. Small gangs do terrorize their neighborhoods. It is true. Yes. And they should be punished for terrorizing said neighborhoods. However, running an organized crime syndicate that distributes hard drugs, that is buying politicians, that is overall a menace to society on every level and can only be dealt with via RICO, is not the same thing. NPR has a snippet of the podcast Louder Than a Riot, which I'll link below, and they had an interesting discussion about unique with these hip-hop arrests and the widening of RICO. Specifically, where hip-hop is being used, hip-hop and rap music are being used not just as art, but as literal confessions. And what is behind that is nothing new, which is the criminalization of black music in general. Jazz was inherently criminalized back in the day. Loose music makes people do weird things with their bodies. Originally, rock and roll was a black art form, which was then appropriated and black people have essentially been erased from. It's a continued collective criminalization of the black community, and it's furthering the narrative that black people, black music, anything adjacent to black people in this country is inherently violent and criminal. So with all that being said, where does that leave us with Young Thug, YSL, and Gunna? Well, like I always say, multiple things can be true at once.